Today we're going to do a deep dive in printing in Microsoft projects. Come follow along and let me show you how it's done. All right, so printing in Microsoft Project, it's a little bit of a back and forth game, but we'll get you through it. I just want to show you what some errors or situations that you can run into that might be a little confusing to start off. So, and keep in mind, this video is just for printing the Gantt chart view. There's other views that you can print, but right now, for explanation, demonstration purposes, we're just going to focus on printing your Gantt chart view. So currently, this is a project we've been working on. As an example, it's just a PMI process schedule. And it's not updated, so you keep that in mind. We haven't run any progress on this, so some of the dates may be a little different to what real life situations would be. But anyways, let's go on to view first off. So you click view, and then on the left hand corner here you have Gantt chart view. So we're in tracking Gantt now. That's just where I closed it at when I first started the schedule, but in order to get back to your typical Gantt chart view, just click Gantt chart there, and now we're showing the Gantt chart. So just for example purposes, I'm going to tell it to print right now without changing any settings at all. So let's go, first of all, show you where print is. It's under File and Print. Now, this screen looks a little different than it did on that last screen. And Microsoft Projects tries to take some assumptions, but they don't know everything. But focus on this. So it's only selecting certain columns at this point. It's selecting an information column, task mode, task name, duration, and it's 15 pages, which our schedule is not that big. So let's kind of unpack what's going on here. Click this button down here on the bottom and see how many pages you've got. So we're going to go down, click it here, go a page down. So page 2 shows some task information. Page 3 is basically the end of our schedule. So what's going on? Why is there 15 pages? If you click down anymore, you can't. What this is telling you is that it's printing almost like you would take a series of pieces of paper and drawing one really large image and then taking all the little pieces of paper and like gluing them together. So let's go back up to the top, page 1, and then hit this over button. It's showing you how far this Gantt chart is going. And in my opinion, this is confusing, because if you print this to a client and it's printing in numerical order, you're going to have page 1 like this, page 2 like this, page 3 like this, and then page 4 is going to look like this. So you're going to have 15 pages when you only need 3, which it's easy to fix. It's very simple. So let's get this thing right. So hit escape to go back. Remember when it only showed the first few columns? That's because this divider between our columns and our Gantt chart is hiding some information that we want. So let's first pull it over and see what we're working with. You can pull it all the way over. Just know that it can snap here and hide your Gantt chart. So for instance, we pulled it over and snapped it over. And now let's go and print again. And I use the shortcut, Control P, a lot. Look, our Gantt chart is not even there. See, it has our columns, not all of them. See, we only have these task mode, name, duration, start, finish. There was percent complete on here too, but it's missing. And we go down here, it's 4 pages. So the other columns have rolled over to the other page, which is unnecessary. So I want to just focus this one thing at a time. Let's understand that the Gantt chart is hidden because, I'm just going to hit escape. This is basically like shut the door on the Gantt chart. So let's pull it over a little bit, the Control P again, and you can see now that the Gantt chart is still printing, even though it's a bit of a mess. So let's start to clean up these columns. So I hit escape, and first off, let's consolidate some of these columns. Some of them are just unnecessarily too wide, so we can kind of start to pull them over. Make sure this cross has snapped on in between here, and just pull it over. And same thing here. You can actually double click in here and it'll auto snap. Same here. Just double clicking to auto snap. And then if you auto snap this one, it wants to make it bigger than what you want. Just pull it yourself if you want to. Resource name, same thing. If you auto snap this, it's really long. I pull it over to about like, I mean, we can even do it like this. Keep in mind that when you're pulling these over too far, sometimes you want the row to roll text over. So you can select this entire column, right click, and wrap text. Not roll, wrap. So you can see it's wrapping this, all the text on this column, which is nice, is what we want. Also, you might need to look in specifically each task sometimes if it doesn't roll over everything. See how this one is resource 1, 2, and it just says resource? We'll probably need to pull it just a hair over so you can get that third resource on there. Same here, let's pull this over just to show that. Okay, so we cleaned it up a little bit. This is really whatever columns are right for your project. Personally, task mode, I get rid of. You can either hit delete and it's gone, or just right click and hit hide column. All it shows if a task is auto scheduled or manually scheduled. My opinion, tasks should be auto scheduled. We went through that in another video, but it gives you basically the task is smart. So moving forward, let's see what's happened. Oh, and also one more thing, this add new column is like a ghost column. You can have it there, it won't print. Control P for print. So now we have our columns, but it still doesn't show our Gantt chart. One thing to really keep in mind, in my opinion, 8.5 by 11 is just way too narrow to print these type of documents. But if you must print small like this, you can go into page setup, and under page, you can adjust the scaling. So you can get it down to what's legible. We'll just say 80 for this example and hit OK. So you see it's scaled down a lot, and you have a portion of your Gantt chart, which is it's realistic. You can see here that we might need to wrap text here. So let's go back, hit escape, and right click the column, wrap text. Sometimes you have to wrap it a couple times to make sure it's wrapped everything. Control P, we're gonna print again. So it's starting to wrap, but it can only wrap so much. I would probably move this column over just a little bit. So back to my comment, this is a back and forth game. You're looking on here, and then you're looking on the Gantt chart. So let's hit escape and pull this over a little bit more so we can see some of the text. Control P, print, and now it's looking better. But we've got a really tiny Gantt chart over here. So let's focus on Gantt chart, but I want to shift gears a little bit and put it on a bigger piece of paper. In my opinion, let's go to page right here under your pages. My opinion, 11 by 17 is just nice for printing a schedule. You can pull these columns over a lot, have a lot of wordy text. Go back to page setup. And you can even adjust the scaling to almost 100% normal size, or we'll scale it down to 90 for this example. It gets a little hard to read here, so maybe let's go 95, hit OK, and let's hit escape. Pull this column over a bit more. And also another thing, a wide monitor is great for scheduling because you can really open up the view and see what's going to be printed. Control P, I'm going to try print again. All right, so we've got the columns. I think these are looking nice. But one thing we do need to address is this Gantt chart is still too big. Look at how many pages the schedule is. So page 1, click down, page 2, and if you go over, it's just unnecessarily large Gantt chart. So our next step now that we have the columns where we want, and then we want to consolidate our schedule into this portion here. There's a couple ways to do that and adjust that. So let's hit escape. Let's pull this over a little bit. But keep in mind, we're going to have to put it back so we're not covering up these columns when we're ready to print. So with Microsoft Project, this screen looks very similar to your print. Let's go back over and pull this over like we mentioned. Let's go here. This is a zoom function. So first we need to see where's our schedule at. You're not seeing it here because it's rolled over to maybe a date in the future. So grab this little bar or just click right here over to find where your Gantt chart is. You can also see this represented in this timeline view here. So you pull this over here. You can see it's in this part of the schedule where there's less action. So let's pull it back over, and you want to start and zooming out a little bit. So these columns are just too long because this shows every day. So click here on the bottom and zoom out. Let's do it a couple times and see what it looks like. So Project will assume some parameters and kind of scale it for you, or you can scale it yourself. So if you right clicked in here in time scale, you can see that they've scaled it in months with a certain amount of days between each set column. So play around with the scaling, but this will also do it for you. So hit OK. So we see now it's just visually smaller. And let's go back to try to print. But before we do that, keep in mind we need to scoot this over so it actually prints what we want. So our schedule will kind of look like this. Control P to print. So now, look here. We have now printed what looks like a better fit on the schedule. And we're actually in 2 pages. So in my opinion, this looks great. This is a very clean, professional looking schedule printing. One other thing you can do, this isn't the best example for it, but let's talk through it. So let's say you only want to show a Gantt chart of what is happening for, let's say, a week's time period. Today is the 23rd of June. The schedule finishes on July 16th. these tasks aren't completed. Let's complete them. So let's go back here, and let's say that we want to progress this schedule along real quick like. So I'm just going to go to view and filter, and I'm going to do a date range between when this project started in January. Yep. To, let's say, let's go yesterday, the 22nd. Hit OK. So this is just showing everything that was been in the past. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just complete all of these tasks. I'm just selecting all of these that should be done by clicking it and hitting the control button, so I can just do a mass section at once. We'll just do this real quick. Okay, and then I'm going to task 100% complete. All right, so now this schedule is a good example of what's happening in real time if everything was on schedule. Let's go to view. Let's clear this filter, clear filter. And now let's only show incomplete tasks. This may be a project where you only want to see what's going on now. So these are the items left, right? This is stuff in the future. So let's go and print this. Control P, print. Now you can zoom in and look at this. Click the zoom button. You can see that all this stuff was in the past, and we only want to see what's coming up in the future. This is unnecessary. So what you want to do is kind of clip this section out, and you can do that right here by the date ranges. So you can select this. In this example, we said that we were June 23rd was today's date. And also that's indicated on this green line right here. So now look, that's now zoomed in, but clipped a portion of your schedule, which is great. You know, you can even go further and say, you know, this is today's day, this is what's going on. But in this example schedule, the next task coming up looks like it's on July 9th. So let's just give them a view of July 9th. So if you go to July 9th, I've seen that sometimes it might get a little too close, but this one didn't because of the scale, because this is almost, it does it automatically. But I think that looks good. So that's a great representation of how you update the schedule, or you send a updated specific date range section. So that's a good one there. Let's go back. Let's hit escape. We're going to go back to our example where we print everything. Clear the filter and Control P, print. Now look, remember when we changed that date range and it was to the 9th, and now it's missing all that? Let's go back and put it back to around when the project start was in January, I think the 23rd. So look now, 2 pages, everything's on there, but also look at this. See how this is kind of a little too narrow? So let's hit escape and go back. We can move this just a little bit and just pull this over just a tad. Go back, Control P, print, and now look, everything's looking good. This is a nice updated schedule. Good scaling, great example. We can do a couple other things to make this custom. So go to page setup, and in the you can custom make the margins. You know, if you really wanted to put it on that smaller piece of paper, you could thin out the margins some to make everything bigger. So let's just tighten these margins a little bit. Just be careful. You go too thin, and sometimes printers just cut off things. Okay. So now you're getting more of the schedule on here, and these margins are thinning out, which is nice. Sometimes I do that. Page setup. Um, there's some other specific things in here. You can really narrow down how this is actually how the printer prints. But that's margin. In page is just portrait landscape. These schedules look great on landscape. You could print it in portrait if you had a plotter that printed really long. I've had to do that for clients, but then you need to change your paper output. For instance, here we'll do that. So we'll need to change the printer. Let's cancel this. So let's say you had a client that has engineering tools like a plotter, so you can print Microsoft Print to PDF, which is a way I print a lot, or you save revisions of the schedule. So you've got really an open access to print any kind of size. So we'll go back here, and you can print. You can select the page style here, like the landscape that was in page setup here. So let's go to portrait. It's going to cut off a lot of things because 11 by 17 is just not quite big enough. But some clients you may have architecture size paper. Let's just find, I think it's architectural D size, 24 by 36. Pretty standard engineering size paper. Where'd it go? Yep, so it's not doing it there for some reason, but let's go into page setup. Paper size tabloid, we don't want that. We want to try to go to D size, hit OK. There you go. Microsoft sometimes gets finicky, but you could have a client where it's a really big schedule and they want to see everything, and you could print it in portrait here and show them, that way if they have access to, plotter to print it big. I've done it this way before too. Let's go back to the 11 by 17, which is a bit more, I guess attainable might be a good way to describe that. Also tabloid is 11 by 17. So I think things are looking better. Let's zoom out. We've changed the layout a little bit here from before, but that's still, it auto selected some ways to represent this. Actually, it's cut off a few items here, so you always need to go back and forth. Let's just hit escape and refresh everything. Hit print. So this is Control P, print back. A couple more quick things here. You go to page setup. There's the header. You can actually add parameters here, some custom made ones. So there's some default information here. So let's just say you wanted the project start date to be on the schedule at all times, even if it changes. Click add, and you can see the preview that it's doing so. And then you can go back here and just type in start date. And in this text, start date will always be on there because you typed it, and then the and symbol in the brackets is like a code that it always picks what's coming from the schedule. So you can do that. And then also another cool thing I do a lot, but be a little careful depending on the size. You can insert logos on here. And my company, Nelpro, I'll put my logo on this at times. So click this here. It says insert picture. Just be careful when you're doing this. If you put in too large a file size, it will not like it, and it'll be a challenge. So let's hit insert, and let's hit OK to look at it. It's pretty massive at this point, but let's just go back, set up. and you can click in it and then pull it into consolidated sum, and just hit OK. And it's a back and forth game, like I said, and then you can make these as customized as you want with footer on the bottom. You can, even if you go to legend, you can get rid of it. The legend is here at the bottom. I don't always print it, so I hit legend on none, hit OK, and it'll get rid of your legend for you. And there's a few view options. I don't change these a ton, but you can make it where it doesn't print blank pages and things like that. So yeah, that's it on printing. There's a lot of different options, very customizable. There you have it. That's simple. That's how you print in Microsoft projects. Like and follow for more content and scheduling.